Thank you very much. This is the Mile High City, and this is the gateway to the Rockies, and this is, by the testimony of today's guest, the most beautiful state in the country. Hello from Colorado. We're in Denver, Colorado all week, and I'm pleased to present to you one of America's true superstars. I mean, it's not bad enough that he rose to the top of the charts as America's #1 music man in the 70s, but he also hit it in one of the most demanding and competitive industries anywhere ever, the movie business. He's a real live movie star, and he's a man who loved this town so well that he named himself after it. Please welcome John Denver. Right here. From Betcher Concert Hall in Denver, Colorado, and I've asked John to do me a favor by opening our show from this lovely facility in downtown Denver with what you do best. If you please, Mr. Denver.
Thank you, Phil. There's a storm across the valley, clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder. He's an hour away from writing on your prayers up in the sky. 10 days on the road, barely gone. There's a fire softly burning, supper's on the stove. It's the light in your eyes makes him warm. Sing it with me. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. There's all the news to tell him. Well, honey, how do you spend your time? Tell me what's the latest thing the neighbors say. And your mother called last Friday and sunshine made her cry. And you felt the baby move just yesterday. Say, hey, it's good to be back home again. Yes, dear. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. Oh, the time that I can lay this tired old body down, feel your fingers feather soft upon me, yeah. The kisses that I live for, the love that lights my way, the happiness that living with you brings me. It's the sweetest thing I know of, just spending time with you. It's the little things that make a house a home. Like a fire softly burning and supper on the stove, and the light in your eyes that keeps me warm. Hey, it's good to be back home again. Sometimes this old farm feels like a long-lost friend. Yes, and hey, it's good to be back home again. I said, hey, it's so good to be back home again.
Hi, John. I think you're terrific. I was wondering if this is what you always wanted to do in life, is be a professional singer, and how long you have sung professionally.
I've been singing professionally since 1964. I left college at that time to go out and pursue this thing. It was something that I have always wanted to do all of my life, and I can't conceive of a time when I'm not doing this, and I think that I have other things yet to do.
Your gift is so rare. I guess do you recall the first time you pleased somebody with it? I mean, were you 12 and somebody had a picnic in the backyard?
Well, it was kind of like that. The first experience that I call it that it really worked for me in that respect was I attended a Presbyterian church camp when I was about, as a matter of fact, 12 years old. And there were a lot of guitars around the campfire and like that, and I made a lot of friends that way. And then immediately following that, my family moved to Montgomery, Alabama, and I started junior high school there at a very insecure age without really knowing anybody, and I started a week late in school, and the thing that made friends for me there was my playing the guitar and singing.
You were an Air Force kid.
Air Force brat, yes, sir.
Yes.
What kind of guitar do you have, or do you play with?
Well, I have several. This one here was built by a fellow from Kansas whose name is Stuart Mosman. It's a wonderful guitar. Is that for Kansas or Stuart? Anyway, I have several guitars.
Hi, John. I recently heard you talk about your adoption of your son, Zach, and the feeling that you had when you first saw him. Could you repeat that, please?
I have two adopted children. Zachary is 6 now, and Anna Kate will be 4 next month. I had a dream about Zachary before he was born, which is kind of far out. But around that, I think the thing that you're alluding to is that when Annie and I got to the point where we realized that we couldn't have children and started to think of adopting a child, my very strong feeling is that children choose their parents. And I knew very well that there was a little soul out there who someday was going to come be a part of our family. And from the time we initiated that adoption process, all of my quiet moments, all of my prayers were directed to that little soul out there, saying that, you know, I didn't know what he had to go through to get to be with us, but whatever it was, I wanted him to know that there was a family waiting for him that had so much love for him and so much couldn't wait to be with him that whatever it was worth going through. And then I had the dream about him 10 days before he was born, and miracles, you know.
John, my question is off that track a little bit. I'm interested in how you felt about being a movie actor and the difference in being an actor and singing and your thoughts about it.
I'm not sure that there's a great deal of difference between acting and singing. It's in a sense a different medium, but I think that what you do when you do a song is recreate all the emotion and the feelings that are behind the words that you're singing. When you're acting, you have a different set of tools to work with. You get to use your whole body, a set, a situation, camera angles, all of those things. I really enjoyed acting a great deal. It was a wonderful experience for me, and I'd like very much to do it again. I just haven't found a script that gets to me yet.
John, we know you're talented in many ways, and I don't know if just Coloradoans know this, but you're also a great skier. We want to know what you're going to do to help promote skiing in Colorado the way you've done in the past with your celebrity skis and whatnot. We think that's great, and what are you going to do in the future to help us out?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We hope to continue the John Denver Celebrity Pro-Am Ski Tournament. This year will be our 4th year, and we're doing it again this year at Lake Tahoe in California. I would love to move it to Colorado in the future. I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not.
And you've got some tremendous skiers come and participate. Phil Donahue.
Yes, I was going to say, Phil.
You can't miss me. I'm the guy with on his back with the skis going down the hill first. We're in Colorado with John Denver, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. Left yesterday behind him, you might say he was born again, might say he found the key for every door. When he first came to the mountains, his life was far away, on the road and hanging by a song. But the string's already broken and he doesn't really care. Keeps changing fast, it don't last for long. The Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. The shadows from the starlight are softer than a lullaby. Rocky Mountain High, Rocky Mountain High. He climbed Cathedral Mountain, saw silver clouds below, saw everything as far as you can see. And they say that he got crazy once and he tried to touch the sun, and he lost a friend but kept his memory. Now he walks in quiet solitude, the forests and the streams, seeking grace in every step he takes. His side is turned inside himself to try and understand the serenity of a clear blue mountain lake. In the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. You can talk to God and listen to the casual reply. Rocky Mountain High, Rocky Mountain High. Now his life is full of wonder, but his heart still knows some fear of a simple thing he cannot comprehend. Why they try to tear the mountains down to bring in a couple more people, more scars upon the land. In the Colorado Rocky Mountain High, I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. I know he'd be a poor man if he never saw an eagle fly. Rocky Mountain High, it's a Colorado Rocky Mountain High. I've seen it rain and fire in the sky. Friends around a campfire, everybody's high. Mountain High. Rocky Mountain High. Rocky Mountain High. Rocky Mountain High.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, John.
Hello.
Do you write all your own lyrics and music?
Not all of them. I would say that now about 80%, 85% of the songs that I've recorded are my own songs.
The irony about John's writing career is his first big hit. The first hit you wrote wasn't yours. What I mean to say is, you wrote, if you've been living in a cave for the past several years, you don't know that John Denver wrote "Leaving on a Jet Plane," which Peter, Paul, and Mary
Yes, sir.
sold a gazillion copies, and you had the #2 record of that song.
Right.
Or did you surpass them? I don't know, maybe later.
Oh, no. I didn't have a hit with it at all. It was only a part of an album, never released as a single.
Hi. I know you're involved a lot with the animals and the environment. I was just wondering if you're still doing a lot of this work in Colorado.
Absolutely. The only specific thing that's going on in Colorado right now has to do with the Windstar project up in Aspen, or in the Roaring Fork Valley. More than that, more than just what's going on in Colorado, there's the whole wilderness issue, the Wilderness Land Bill up in Alaska, the Alaska Lands Bill that we've done quite a bit of work on over the last couple of years, and I still hope that comes through. I'm doing everything that I can, yes.
I was wondering if you could tell us what you've been doing lately. We haven't been hearing too much about you. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy?
Well, since the end of February, I've done 100 concerts in 125 cities across the United States. I've done 2 television shows, and am currently working out in Los Angeles. I flew in, as a matter of fact, yesterday to Aspen to spend the night there, and I go back right after this. I'm working on a new album.
Hi, John. You seem to be a very spiritual person. Is this from your training through EST?
Well, no, I don't think it necessarily has. The spiritual aspect of my life doesn't really have anything to do with EST. The EST training is something that I did participate in and got an incredible amount of value in. I'm on the EST advisory board and consider Werner a very dear friend in my life. I was raised a Presbyterian. I don't really attend church anymore, except on those occasions when I get to go out into the mountains. And I do consider myself very much a spiritual person, yes.
You have been one of the few celebrities that has spoken honestly to the whole business of values, and you earned a lot of money and still are. And I know that has to do something to your head, and it has to, you're a member of the President's project, the White House Conference on World Hunger. Well, is this the result of that? I mean, did you wake up one morning and say, holy cow, I have responsibility here, or did you feel you had to change your own values?
Phil, I think when I first left home and started to go out, actually when I left college and went out to start to do something with my music, I really started becoming socially and politically aware in a much larger framework than I had in my youth. And within that, my feelings have always, I've been very sensitive to what I see around me, to the experience of myself, of people that I see, the way the world is. I have a concern about a lot of those things, a great deal of interest, and seemingly through my success, I have an opportunity to perhaps do something about some of those things, if nothing else, at least give voice to my own feelings, and in that way, to the degree that I might reflect how people feel through my songs, perhaps some of the things that I'm saying by working on the Presidential Commission on World Hunger, or whatever other activities I'm involved in, might also reflect how people feel. And if that's the case, I feel a responsibility to continue doing that, and that's always been there.
Hi, John. I was wondering what you thought about possibly bringing a Winter Olympics to Colorado sometime in the future.
How does Colorado feel about it?
I'm not too much in favor of it. Rocky Mountain High. You know, I do support the idea of the Olympics, but a few years ago when Denver was in the running for the Olympics, Rocky Mountain High, and as part of that, at least the last verse came out of that song. My experience of what has gone on with the Olympics is that a lot of places have gone incredibly into debt, done a whole lot of tearing down and building up, that shortly after the fact of the specific event they were created for got to be useless and meaningless, and yet the people in that community and in the country were arrested with the debt of what had been spent to make that all happen. I'm not in favor of that today.
John, you're a photographer in addition to a lot of other things, and we have some examples of your work here. Who is the beneficiary of whatever income might be generated by the sale of these photos?
Well, I've been taking pictures for quite a long time, and what I've done here is I have the opportunity to do a show in New York at a place called the Hammer Gallery in New York. It starts on December 1st, and it's with a fellow named David Armstrong, who is a watercolor painter, and all the proceeds of that show, at least all the proceeds of the sales of my work, are going to support the WinStar Foundation and the WinStar Project here in Colorado.
You can see the monitor here.
You know, I love taking pictures. I don't know that I'm any good or anything like that. There are things that are pretty to me. The name of the show and a book that I would like to do actually is called The Way That I See It. But it's just another opportunity to share that, the way that I see it. That's true about my songs, what I've done on television, what I do in the movies. And this is another opportunity to do that. This is my little boy Zachary in that photograph. There's a statue there. I was taken in Athens. And I just love photography. Quite often there's so much going on in my mind when I get to sit down and focus right in on this one little thing or make a picture like that happen. It's a great deal of pleasure to me and very relaxing. And I'm excited to be able to share it with people. I hope people like it. I'm starting to get a little nervous.
For those of you who are into photography, you will be interested to know that John uses a Niker mat, and you also have a Hasselblad, is that right?
I have a Nikon system and a Hasselblad system, yes.
I also had a close-up view of some of the work you've done, photographically speaking, in the mountain, and there's just... it's awfully hard to be bad as a photographer in the Rockies.
In the Rockies, yes, that's true.
We should make that point. But these are really unusually attractive photographs.
Thank you. One of the photographs you saw before there is one I especially like of the Pope when I was in Rome a year and a half ago. And then there are shots of flowers. You know, I like to go out and look closely at things, and now with macro lenses and like that, you can capture that on film. You can see things actually the way the eye doesn't see, and I like to do that a great deal. Yes.
Is your wife Annie in the audience today?
No, Annie's not here. She stayed home today. My mother is here.
Where is she, John? Where are you, Mrs.?
Right there. Hi, Mom.
It is Deutschendorf, is it not?
Dutchendorf.
Dutchendorf.
The correct German pronunciation would be Deutschendorf. We always said Dutchendorf.
Well, you done something right, Mrs. Dutchendorf. Huh? What how proud you must be of this son John. Yes.
I did the interpreting for you up in Aspen on Father's Day, and I would like to thank you very, very much, and that everything you do up there is greatly appreciated.
How do you mean?
He did a benefit concert for the Aspen Camp School for the Deaf, and has done it for several years, and it's just tremendous. Thank you.
Do you ever receive unsolicited song lyrics in the mail?
Well, I do. I actually get about 20 to 30 tapes a day, and quite often, depending on where I am about it, they will be sent back to the people. Sometimes the people in my office will go through them to see if there's something that they think I ought to listen to.
Hi, John. What was it like working with George Burns and Oh God?
Well, it was wonderful. George is he's just a wonderful, wonderful man, and he's an absolute professional, and he's great to be around. He has millions of stories to tell from the old days in vaudeville, and it's really a great pleasure to be with him on any occasion, and to have acted with him was wonderful.
Now that Betcher Hall is going to be closed after November 30th.
We should explain for those of you watching around the country. The community of Denver is collectively depressed by apparently the inability to settle a symphony strike, which is not altogether that uncommon in this country. There is more than one symphony out because of inability to come to terms. But this is especially impacting here because this hall will close without the symphony. And John is going to solve this whole problem for us.
You know, it would be, I can't believe that we build something like this and then out of our inability to work together or understand the problems that people are facing today and with inflation and everything, with the kind of money that we spend on political campaigns, that we cannot afford to pay these musicians enough to live. If I get the chance, if something does get worked out, perhaps next summer we could do a benefit concert for the symphony here.
Doesn't it bother you that and you too, that all this boosting you do of Colorado and all the boosting you're doing in Colorado now is just going to bring us more growth and more smog and more population?
Good question. It's a good question. John, you've met that question head on, and it's a good one.
I think it is a good question. You know, we are blessed with what we have here in Colorado, and it does not belong to us. It is perhaps our responsibility, but it is our responsibility also to share it with others who might find peace and relaxation here in these mountains, and to do so in a very responsible way, in a conscientious way that does not destroy the land, does not tear down, and in fact negate all that we have here to share. I think it has to be controlled. Allowing visitors to come here doesn't necessarily require that we have to grow to the extent that we're growing right now. The growth in the western slope that's going to go on with the coal or the oil shale industry is a very scary thing to me. You've taken so much water away from us in the western slope, we're not going to have enough when those people come there. And what are we going to do about that? It's a problem that we all share and that we need to face and we need to handle, and it hasn't been answered yet, in my opinion.
John, with just a little time left in this segment, can I ask you to pick that instrument up at least one more time for us?
I've mentioned the WinStar project, and one of the gentlemen who's involved in the WinStar project is named Buckminster Fuller. He's a very, very dear friend of mine. I consider the genius of our times. And this is a song that I wrote for Bucky that's part of the new album that I'm out in L.A. recording. I suppose there are those who'll say he had it easy, had it made in fact before he'd even begun. But they don't know the things I know. I was always with him. It may sound strange, we were more than friends. It's hard to try and tell the truth when no one wants to listen, when no one really cares what's going on. And it's hard to stand alone when you need someone beside you. Your spirit and your faith, they must be strong. What one man can do is dream. What one man can do is love. What one man can do is change the world and make it young again. Don't you see what one man can do? As shaded as his eyes might be, that's how bright his mind is. That's how strong his love for you and me. A friend to all the universe, grandfather of the future, and everything that I would like to be. What one man can do is dream. What one man can do is love. What one man can do is change the world and make it new again. Don't you see what one man can do? What one man can do is dream, and what one man can do is love. What one man can do is change the world and make it work again. Can't you see what one man can do?
John Denver, native Sonia.
John, I'd like to ask you, you seem like such a feeling person, and the controversy that was with the gas tanks that you were going to put in your front yard. I want to know if you felt that you needed more gasoline than anybody else, and if you decided to take them out because you were a feeling person.
I appreciate that question a great deal. Some of you may remember, I obviously do. I'll tell you a funny thing. A little over a year ago, Phil, when the day the president fired half of his cabinet, a first in our history, I was on the front page of newspapers in London, Tokyo, Sydney, Australia, Los Angeles, and New York about my gas tanks. What was said in those articles is that I had the capacity, in fact, I had in storage, I was hoarding some 16,000 gallons of gas, enough to drive my Porsche around the world 20 times. Now, let me tell you the truth behind the story. You know, we've been talking about an energy crisis. There's inflation going on. I have this project that I care very deeply about in Colorado, up in the Roaring Fork Valley. It's called the WindStar Project. I think it is going to end up being perhaps the most valuable contribution that I will be able to make to the quality of life on our planet. I'm primarily the one who's supporting that project. There are about 50 people working down there. We had 20 college students there this summer. We're getting full accreditation. We're going to build it ourselves. What I looked ahead to do to try and be as efficient as possible with the money that I had was to provide for those people in every way that I could, while I could, for the ongoing of this project and for building the project. I ordered some gas tanks to get gasoline and oil, and on delivery of the first gas tank, this story broke. I never had any gas, I still don't, and I got rid of all of the gas tanks because WindStar, which had up to that point gotten 100% support from the community, all of a sudden these people were doubting what we were doing there, and if it got to be enough in their way to keep me from doing what I thought we all wanted to do, then it was an easy thing to get rid of, and that's what I did.
So the inventory of gasoline was for the construction and continued activity of the project.
Absolutely.
Did your correction or clarification get as much attention as the story?
None.
John, I'd like to know if your tours ever include the small college campuses, especially in Denver.
Well, they haven't for a long time. It seems that at the level at which I'm performing now, generally I work in city arenas or coliseums, and hopefully local college students or in the area are able to attend. That's how we do concerts in buildings that hold 15,000, 20,000 people. I haven't had a hit record in a long time. This last tour was incredibly successful considering what's going on in the concert business, but I'm sure that it will decline to a degree, and perhaps one of these days I'll be able to visit those colleges individually. I'd like that.
John, I'd like to know if your wife works outside the home.
Annie doesn't have a job in that sense. Annie is very involved in the WindStar project, spending a great deal of time down there. She also spends an enormous amount of time with our two children, and she's also getting ready to go back to college now again, which I think is pretty far out.
We're over here, John.
Yes.
John, I've seen both of your children at concerts. I was wondering if adoption of a third is in the process?
Well, as a matter of fact, Annie and I are expanding our home right now, a process that has been going on for about 6 months. I'm beginning to wonder if it's ever going to end. When we see the end of it, we had planned on applying again for adoption. It's something we'd still like to do, and right now Annie and I are going through sort of a difficult period, and we feel that we better be sure we get through that before we apply for adoption.
John, I used to listen to your record, I Guess He'd Rather Be in Colorado, all the time when I lived back east. And I wondered, how much time do you get to spend here now?
Not very much. I hope to change that. You know, I mentioned this tour I've been on. I'm very, very tired, folks. I really feel totally burnt out, and I hope that I can finish this record and then come back here and be here for a while.
Well, are you, is it hard for you to relax?
Well, I don't think it is. You know, when I get away and am able to not have anything on my mind, I think that I relax pretty easily. But, you know, I've just been working so hard, and so many things have been coming up. The concert tour I did last year in Europe, the concert tour this year, around which I was serving on this presidential commission, which had me going to Washington about 15 times a year, and then doing television. You know, it's like I've just sort of gotten so caught up in the work that I've been doing that I think home, most specifically home, and to a degree family, has really suffered from that, and I'm suffering right now. I'm in bad shape.
John, I'd like to ask you who or what inspires your songs, and would you please play Annie's song?
Annie inspires much of my music. Everything around me inspires the songs. You know, I'm inspired by people and the way they live and the problems that we have and how we ever overcome those problems. And I'm inspired by the beautiful scenery of this state, the mountains we live in, you know, actually everywhere on this beautiful planet has brought music out of me. And certainly the biggest inspiration of my life is my wife, Annie.
In that connection, may we have the pleasure of you singing Annie's song to us at this time.
You know, if I may, I mentioned Annie and I are going through a difficult period. We've gone through other difficult times, and our commitment to one another and to our relationship is such that we've come through all of those, and I'm very confident that we'll come through this one, and that doesn't diminish the pain or the just the feeling at the time. And I love my wife more than I can say, and would love to be who she thinks I am, who she would like me to be. And certainly she's everything and more that I ever dreamed of in finding a partner in this world. That's her song. You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again. Oh, come, let me love you. Let me give my life to you. Let me drown in your laughter. Let me die in your arms. Let me lay down beside you. Let me always be with you. Oh, come, let me love you. Come, love me again. Sing it. You fill up my senses like a night in a forest, like the mountains in springtime, like a walk in the rain, like a storm in the desert, like a sleepy blue ocean. You fill up my senses, come fill me again.
glider flying with the Eagles?
Oh, I don't have a glider. I am a licensed pilot. I have a biplane, and I fly a Learjet, and I love to fly.
John, I was in high school with you. We have our 20-year reunion this summer. Wondered if you would honor your classmates with your presence.
I would love to do that if I survive the winter. I'll try and be there, yes.
Thank you.
John, there are a couple of good contractors here. In case you have trouble with that house, we'll build it for you.
From a religious perspective, how did your involvement in Oh God affect your life?
Well, I don't know that it affected my life. It was mostly from the spiritual feelings that I have about what's going on in the world that the movie was in fact done, and throughout that, the movie and the reaction to the movie, the acceptance of it only furthered everything that I feel.
I just don't want this to end without offering my thanks for being here. Thank you, Mrs. Dutchendorf. We're really glad you were here. I know how proud you are of him, and we're very grateful that you came in. I know. With 1,001 people who want to ask a question, and with apologies to those who didn't get an opportunity, we've got to say, sadly enough, goodbye from Denver, Colorado, and from John Denver. Have a nice day, everybody.
Goodbye, friends.